Welcome to the latest news update. And first up, stop the press. Or you would do if such things still existed. They did in 1925, and that's when the first Rolls-Royce Phantom was introduced. 92 years later, and 14 years after the Phantom was reintroduced in 2003, which, by the way, if you hadn't noticed, was actually discontinued in 2016. Now there is a whole new Phantom on the way. Check it out. This is a flagship car. And not just for Rolls-Royce, but the car industry itself, because, of course, the Phantom is supposed to be the best car in the world. It was before, and I reckon it will be again. I mean, just look at it. And by the way, this is not just a BMW 7 Series based Rolls-Royce like its siblings. No. Like the previous Phantom, this magnificent machine is based on an entirely bespoke aluminium purpose-built platform, which will actually become the basis of all future Rolls-Royces going forward. And yes, by that I mean the replacements for the Ghost and the Wraith and etc. Now, the worst thing you could possibly say about this new Phantom is that it's not particularly dramatically different from the previous Phant in terms of its overall appearance. But then it had to be like this, didn't it? I mean, big, bold, majestic, right? Because that's what makes it stand out as a Rolls-Royce. But there are changes, there are differences. Look closer. The grille is taller. That flying lady, well, she's perched about ½ an inch higher than before. The grille is now integrated into the front of the car, and there's a line that runs from that front headline crease all the way along the side and then sort of halfway into the middle of the rear door, which is slightly unusual. But that broad shoulder look carries on because there's another line that picks it up just above the rear wheel arch and takes it into a tapered rear end of the car. And check out those massive 22-inch rims. Although, you know, back in the day when it first had 22-inch rims, that was a big deal. But now the Jaguar F-Pace has got 22-inch rims. So I would have expected like 24s or something at least. Anyway, you know how all the manufacturers like to talk about how much weight they're taking out of cars, how many kilograms they're losing. Well, here, get this. Rolls-Royce could turn around and they say, well, we've put 130 kilograms of sound insulation into this car. Which, of course, makes it the most silent car in the world. And you think, well, doesn't it have an engine? Is it electric? No. It does. It has a big old V12 up front. It's an all-new car, new engine apparently, but still 6.75 liter. It's a unit that is tuned to emphasize low-end torque, again for the silent running thing, you know. So you get 664 pounds-foot of torque, that's 900 Newton meters in a new metric system if you like, from just 1700 RPM, that's barely above idling. Actually, it probably idles way less than that actually, being a Rolls-Royce. And as they always say, power is adequate, which in this case means 563 brake horsepower if you really want to know. It is, of course, the height of luxury, and it is an automotive work of art, I'm sure you'll agree. In fact, Phantom customers will now be able to commission an array of artists, well-known artists in fact, to commission their own unique piece of artwork to fit into an interior gallery that goes into the dashboard behind a screened-off vacuum-sealed section that will contain this piece of unique art forever in this Rolls-Royce. And Rolls-Royces last forever, of course. So that, and you thought wood trim was fancy, right? I mean, God almighty. And if you're an artist, you put your own art into there. Isn't that amazing? Wow. Now, what can you do in 4 seconds? Take a look at this. details on the new 2018 Ford Mustang are out. That's the one with the facelift, of course. And the most important being that the 5-litre V8, yes, it still has a 5-litre V8, which is the good news, sees power going up from 435 brake horsepower to 460 brake horsepower, with torque going up from 400 pounds-foot to 420 pounds-foot. It also gets a very quick shifting 10-speed automatic, all of which means that the legendary pony car will now accelerate faster than the Porsche 911 Carrera, according to Ford. They say that with drag strip mode engaged, the Mustang GT will accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour, that's about 92 kilometers per hour, in under 4 seconds. Now, the V6, that's been ditched. The 4-cylinder remains, the 4-cylinder EcoBoost. That also gets the 10-speed automatic, so it also gets pretty quick, and it gets 310 brake horsepower, but torque goes up by 30 pounds-foot to 350 pounds-foot. So again, deploy the drag strip mode in that, and you get 0 to 60 or 0 to 92 kilometers per hour in under 5 seconds. So what is drag strip mode? Well, it's another one. It's an addition now to the driving modes. There's now 5 driving modes available, and the way it works in drag strip mode is so that it keeps the torque up through the gear changes, so basically you don't lose any momentum as you snap up to the ratios. Woohoo! Can't wait to give that a try. Now in the UAE, Ford is distributed by Alder Motors, and they're up next in the news. Alder has opened its largest used car facility right here in the UAE. It's 55,000 square meter showroom with 4 levels, and it's located near the Dubai Police Traffic Office in Al Barsha. As well as introducing Ford approved and Lincoln certified programs to the UAE, it will also offer Maserati certified pre-owned cars, as well as Jaguar and Land Rover approved cars as well. It's green too. No, I don't mean that the color of the building is green. What I mean is that actually it has solar power generation on the roof, producing 660 kilowatts. That's not only enough for the showroom, but apparently they'll be able to put electricity back into the national grid. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? And it also is a nice segue into our next news story, because in other news, it's all about electric cars, isn't it? You know, I mean, Tesla has just delivered the first 30 of its new Model 3s over in the US. Meanwhile, and here's the big one, the UK has followed France in announcing that it will ban all petrol and diesel engines, for cars of course, by 2040. Yes. Now, all the news media immediately turned to the car industry and demanded to know how they would meet this deadline. The car industry people, they just shrugged. They said, it ain't even a big thing. And it isn't, because they're all working on electric cars right now. Many of them already have electric cars on sale or will do very, very shortly. And you know, with the typical car life cycle being between 4 to 7 years, that deadline is 23 years away. So you're looking at least 3 generations of car nameplates into the future. You know, so based on their model year cycles, that's 3 to 4 generations away. It's not even a big issue for them. The car industry, frankly, will build whatever it can sell. It was always the sort of, you know, if you think about it, if you want to get into all of these conspiracy theories, it was the oil cartel that was always trying to dissuade the industry from going into alternative fuel sources, not the car manufacturers themselves. The real problem is not the car makers. In fact, the real problem is going to be for the government. The same government that is announcing these bans, because the Telegraph newspaper in the UK worked out that the extra electricity that you would need to power all these electric cars by 2040 was 30 gigawatt. And that's in addition to the 61 gigawatt that the national grid there already produces at peak times, which is currently deemed not quite enough already. So in order to get that extra juice that they're going to need, they worked out that they estimated that the UK would need to build another 10 nuclear power stations at a cost of £20 billion each. And they would take 20 years to make. So that's cutting it fine. Alternatively, you could go down the wind turbine route, which is cleaner and would only take 6 months per turbine to build. Sounds good. But where are you going to put them? Because you're going to need 10,000 wind turbines to do this. And get this, each one is going to cost between £1 and £3 million to build. So we may have jumped a bit far ahead there, I think, with that plan, but not because of the car industry, but because of the infrastructure itself. Because, you know, add to that, there's the practicalities of providing enough charging stations for everyone to be able to go where they need to go and get back home without being stranded somewhere with flat batteries in their very heavy cars. Remember, extra batteries in these things make them a bit of a nightmare if you have to push them. You can't push them home, that's for sure. Still, maybe it doesn't matter because, you know, most likely, as I said before, by then, by 2040, probably we won't even be driving cars. We may even own cars. We'll just have some sort of car sharing or car leasing system by that time. So really, you know, perhaps not all of this is a moot point. It doesn't really matter. You know what? Tell us what you think. Put your opinions, views, and concerns even in the comments below. So tell us how you think this is going to pan out and how the future of transport and cars is going to develop. Let us know. Until the next time, see you then.